Welcome to Dino Decoded, where every fossil tells a story, and every bone holds a whisper from the deep past. You are standing on a lush, humid floodplain 115 million years ago. The air is thick with the smell of damp earth and blooming cycads. Towering conifers pierce a sky that feels heavier, closer than our own. A herd of armored sauropods moves slowly in the distance. Their steps, a rhythmic tremor you feel in your bones. But here, closer, in a grove of ferns, a herd of plant eaters grazes nervously. Their peace is about to be shattered. A flash of movement, a blur of feathers and teeth, erupts from the undergrowth. A predator, built for speed and power, is on the hunt. Ever wonder if Hollywood's most clever and coordinated pack hunter was actually a myth born from a single, misunderstood fossil? So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you find the journey we're about to take is a valuable one. We'd love for you to share where you are watching from in the comments below, and tell us which prehistoric creature fascinates you the most. Now, let's journey back in time and uncover the story of a lost world. Close your eyes for a moment and picture it. The tall grass, the chilling, bird-like shriek, the synchronized attack. You see a pack of intelligent, human-sized predators working together with terrifying precision. They are the ultimate silver screen monster, an icon of prehistoric terror known to the world as the Velociraptor. But here is the first secret the fossil record wants to share with you. The creature you are imagining is not a Velociraptor. Not even close. The real Velociraptor mongoliensis was an astonishing animal, but it was scarcely the size of a turkey, hailing from the arid deserts of Mongolia. Not the fern prairies of North America. The movie star, the 6-foot terror with a chilling intelligence and the killer claw, stole its identity, its entire design, its size, its speed. Its very name was inspired by another animal altogether, a dinosaur far more robust, and whose story is infinitely more fascinating than the fiction it inspired. Its real name is Deinonychus antirrhopus. This is the animal that clawed its way into our nightmares. And the evidence it left behind created a scientific puzzle that would mislead paleontologists for decades. You are not just looking at a movie monster. You are looking at a case of mistaken identity on a geological scale. So, let's peel back the layers of Hollywood fiction and meet the real animal. The name itself is a declaration of intent. Deinonychus, from the Greek dinos for terrible and onyx for claw. It is, quite literally, the dinosaur with the terrible claw. This was not some lumbering brute. Imagine an animal the size of a wolf, perhaps 11 feet long from snout to tail tip, but much of that length is a long, rigid tail, held out stiffly behind it. This tail, reinforced by a lattice of bony rods, wasn't flexible and whip-like. It was a dynamic counterbalance, allowing the animal to make lightning-fast turns, a rudder slicing through the prehistoric air. You see it standing before you, weighing around 170 pounds, a creature of sleek, lethal efficiency. Its body is covered in a coat of complex feathers, not the simple down of a chick, but advanced plumage that speaks to a warm-blooded, active metabolism. Its arms are long and powerful, ending in 3-fingered hands equipped with wickedly sharp claws, perfect for gripping. Its head is narrow and bird-like, its gaze sharp and intelligent. Its mouth, when it opens, reveals a row of serrated, blade-like teeth, curved backward to prevent prey from escaping. But your eyes are inevitably drawn downward. To its feet, it walks on two toes. The first toe is a small, almost useless dew claw, but the second toe is held high off the ground, retracted like the blade of a switchblade. On it rests the animal's namesake, a 5-inch, sickle-shaped talon. It is a weapon of sublime and terrible perfection, kept pristine and razor-sharp by never touching the soil. This is the creature that prowled the floodplains of what is now Montana and Wyoming. It was a predator built not for brute force, but for a swift, acrobatic, and precise form of combat. Forget the scaly, reptilian monster of the movies. The animal before you is more akin to a colossal bird of prey, an eagle of the Cretaceous, grounded but no less deadly. For decades, that sublime and terrible claw sparked a singular, brutal image in our collective imagination. We pictured a lightning-fast predator, leaping through the air and delivering a devastating kick, using that sickle claw to slash open the soft underbelly of its prey in a single, grisly motion. It was a compelling and cinematic vision of prehistoric combat, but the closer scientists looked, the less sense it made. A slashing weapon, like a knife, needs a fine, razor-sharp edge. The claw of Deinonychus, while sharply pointed, was more like an ice pick in its cross-section. A powerful slashing kick against a struggling, multi-ton victim would risk snapping the claw or getting it stuck, a fatal mistake for the attacker. The mechanics just didn't quite add up. The real function, it turns out, is something both more subtle and more terrifying. And the clue comes from the predators that soar through our skies today. Watch a hawk or an eagle descend upon its prey. It doesn't slash. It strikes, sinking its talons deep to get an unbreakable grip. It uses its body weight to pin the animal down, mantling with its wings for balance, completely immobilizing its victim. This is the Raptor Prey Restraint model. Now, picture our Deinonychus again. It doesn't leap to slash. It makes a short, explosive leap onto its prey. As it lands, that terrible claw, which was held safely aloft, pivots down and plunges deep into the victim's back or flank. It's not a slash, it's an anchor. Instantly, the prey is carrying its killer. The long, powerful arms and gripping hands we saw earlier now latch on, providing more stability. That stiff, rudder-like tail works furiously, making minute adjustments to keep the hunter balanced on the back of its struggling meal. The claw isn't the killing weapon, it's the tool of control. It allows Deinonychus to stay locked onto a much larger animal, riding it like a rodeo star from hell. While its jaws, full of those serrated teeth, can get to work on the neck and head, the fight is no longer a quick slash in the dark, but a horrifying, inescapable struggle where the predator has become an irremovable part of its prey. This vision of a strategic, grappling hunter is a masterpiece of biomechanical deduction. But how could we possibly test it? What evidence does a predator leave behind 115 million years later? To find out, you must travel from the lush floodplains of the past to the dusty, sun-baked badlands of modern Montana. Here, under a vast, empty sky, the earth has eroded away, exposing the layers of a lost world. You are kneeling in the dirt, the sun hot on your back. Your brush sweeps away millennia of sediment from a fossilized bone. This is where the story of the pack hunter truly began. At a real site unearthed in the 1,960 seconds, Imagine the excitement as the paleontologists slowly uncovered a prehistoric drama frozen in stone. First, the skeleton of a large plant eater begins to emerge. It's an animal called Deinonychus, a creature around 20 feet long and powerfully built. But as they dig deeper, they find something else. Mingled with the bones of this single herbivore are the remains of its apparent killers. Not one, but 4 individual Deinonychus. The teeth of these predators are even found among the Deinonysaurus bones. You are looking at a paleontological cold case, and the evidence seems to speak for itself. Here is the victim, clearly outnumbered. Here are the assailants, who apparently died in the struggle to bring it down. The conclusion felt immediate and inescapable. It was a pack hunt, a coordinated, strategic attack by a family group of intelligent carnivores, working together like a pack of wolves to overwhelm prey far too large for a single hunter. This single, astonishing fossil site became the foundation for everything we thought we knew. It was the birth of the clever, cooperative raptor. The image was so powerful, so intuitive, that it was cemented in science and, eventually, in cinematic history. The case of the pack-hunting Deinonychus seemed open and shut, but in the silent world of fossils, the first interpretation isn't always the whole story. What if the scene wasn't a coordinated hunt, but the site of a chaotic, multi-day feeding frenzy? That dramatic story of a cooperative pack hunt is a powerful one. But when you re-examine that Montana crime scene with a more skeptical eye, the heroic narrative begins to crumble. First, you have to ask, who are this animal's closest living relatives? They are not wolves or lions. They are crocodiles and birds. And while both groups display complex behaviors, true cooperative pack hunting of large prey is virtually unheard of. Crocodiles may gather in huge numbers at a kill, but it's a violent, chaotic, free-for-all, where the biggest and strongest dominate. There is no strategy, only selfish competition. So, let's revisit that fossil site and imagine a different scenario. Picture a single, powerful Deinonychus managing to bring down the Deinonychus using that pinning technique we explored. The struggle is immense. The scent of blood fills the air. Soon, another Deinonychus arrives, drawn by the commotion, then a third, and a fourth. They are not packmates arriving to help. They are rivals, drawn to a potential meal. What happens next is not a shared feast, but a vicious feeding frenzy. Much like you'd see with modern Komodo dragons, the animals turn on each other, fighting over the best parts of the carcass. In this brutal squabble, jaws snap, claws fly, and injuries are common. In a Komodo dragon feeding frenzy, it's not unusual for smaller dragons to be killed and cannibalized by their larger kin. It's entirely plausible that the 4 Deinonychus found at the site didn't die from the prey fighting back, but from wounds inflicted by each other in a dispute over the spoils. There's another possibility. 2. The predator trap. The large Deinonychus could have gotten stuck in thick mud near a riverbank. Its struggles and cries would have been a dinner bell for every predator in the area. One by one, opportunistic Deinonychus could have ventured in to scavenge, only to become trapped themselves. The result? A collection of fossils that looks like a single hunt, but is actually a series of unrelated events over hours or even days. The pack hunting theory is no longer a certainty. It is just one story among several, and perhaps the least likely. If the Montana crime scene is a cold case with too many possible suspects and conflicting stories, we must turn to the only reliable witness we have left, the killer's own body. The skeleton of Deinonychus is a blueprint for a lifestyle, and it does not describe a team player. Let's start with the brain. While certainly large and complex for a dinosaur of its time, a key observation that we'll return to it doesn't show the specific expansions in regions associated with complex social planning that we see in mammals like wolves, dolphins, or primates. Its brain was beautifully adapted for processing sensory information. It had huge optic lobes for sharp, binocular vision and large olfactory bulbs for a keen sense of smell. It was an intelligent animal, but its intelligence was likely more akin to that of a modern hawk or crocodile, a brilliant and instinctual solo operator, not a social strategist. The anatomy of the hunt itself tells the same story. That same terrible claw we saw pinning its victim is the key. Its entire purpose is to allow a single 170-pound predator to latch onto and control an animal that weighs a ton or more. It's a specialized weapon that equalizes a massive size disparity, reducing the need for backup. Its powerful legs were not built for long-distance cooperative pursuit like a wolf pack, but for short, explosive ambushes from cover. You are looking at a creature designed for surprise, for a sudden, decisive strike where it could use its unique grappling gear to gain immediate control of the situation. Every piece of its anatomy screams self-sufficiency. This was not an animal that needed a pack to succeed. It was an apex predator in its own right, a lone hunter that relied on stealth, intelligence, and a revolutionary set of weapons to dominate its environment. It didn't hunt like a wolf. It hunted like a hawk, a grounded eagle of the Cretaceous, using its fearsome toolkit to tackle prey far larger than itself, a testament to the evolutionary power of a single, well-equipped individual. So, the myth of the pack hunter dissolves, replaced by the portrait of a solitary, hyper-efficient predator. But the story of Deinonychus doesn't end there. In fact, its greatest contribution to science has nothing to do with how it hunted. Its true legacy is how it single-handedly rescued all dinosaurs from scientific obscurity. Before Deinonychus was unearthed, the popular and even scientific image of a dinosaur was of a slow, dim-witted, cold-blooded failure. They were seen as lumbering, tail-dragging lizards, evolutionary dead ends that were simply waiting for a comet to put them out of their misery. They were gray, swamp-bound, and boring. And then, this skeleton from Montana came to light. It was a revelation. Here was an animal that was clearly not slow. Its light bones, stiff counterbalancing tail, and athletic posture screamed speed and agility. Here was an animal that was clearly not dim-witted. Its brain case was remarkably large, hinting at a complex mind. Its anatomy, from its swiveling wrists to the structure of its pelvis, was so strikingly similar to that of the earliest birds that the connection became undeniable. This was not a lizard. This was something entirely new. A creature that seemed more like a featherless, flightless bird of prey. The discovery of Deinonychus was the spark that ignited a revolution in thinking, a period now known as the Dinosaur Renaissance. It forced us to re-evaluate everything. Suddenly, dinosaurs were not sluggish reptiles, but active, warm-blooded, and intelligent animals that dominated their planet for over 150 million years. They were complex parents. They were covered in vibrant feathers, and their descendants were still with us, singing in the trees. Deinonychus gave us the modern dinosaur. So while it may not have been the cooperative pack hunter of our movie screens, it was something infinitely more important. It was the key that unlocked a lost world, transforming dinosaurs from forgotten monsters into the magnificent, dynamic, and successful animals they truly were. The sun sets on the Cretaceous floodplain, and our journey through deep time comes to a gentle close. We traveled back 115 million years, drawn in by the myth of a clever, pack-hunting raptor, a story born from a single jumble of bones in the Montana soil. Yet, by looking closer, we uncovered a creature far more remarkable, a solitary, intelligent hunter built like a hawk, a dinosaur that rewrote the entire story of its kind. This is the profound beauty of science. It is a patient process of discovery that constantly refines our understanding, peeling back the layers of popular fiction to reveal a natural world more ingenious and awe-inspiring than we could ever invent. The truth buried in the rock is always the better story, a quiet whisper from an ancient earth, waiting for us to listen.